What's up, everybody? It's your boy Nolan. You know the brand, and I'm here once again for the Road to Olympia with my boy Mark. What's good, bro?
What's happening with you, Nolan, man? Welcome to be back, man.
Man, it's another level. We you know what? We keep leveling up because now I have the man, the myth, the legend in the building. Pete, what's up, man?
You're too kind, Mr. Man. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here joining you guys.
Oh, man, I was super excited when he told me he was bringing his coach online, man. I have so many questions that we got to get started with you guys, man. But before we get started, let's just have everybody let's get a rundown of who you are and where you from and what got you where you are today.
Great. Well, my name is Pete Ciccone. I'm an IFBB Pro bodybuilder in the 212 division. I always like to talk about my bodybuilding because when I first started, I was 15 years old, and I was in high school, probably middle of my journey through that crazy time for most people in high school. And I was real short and real small, but I was also real doughy. I didn't do a lot of physical activity because my parents both worked 2 jobs, and so I had to stay home and take care of my siblings. Didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of sports early in my career, so I ended up not having a lot of good muscle tone. So I always like to say, if you're a big, tall, fat guy, you could be a bully or you could be a defensive end on the football team. In high school, you get some respect, walking around this classes and walking through the halls of high school. But if you're a short little shit and you're doughy and fat and you got no physique whatsoever, you're not even that. You don't get respect. You're invisible. And I think that's a transitional phase for most people in the early teens. To be invisible is something that's hard to deal with. So for me, I was lucky when I started playing Pop Warner football and then moved on through high school football. I was able to pick up some weights, and I learned from my dad. He was a pretty tough old guy. He was a Marine, and he was in really good shape all the way through my whole life knowing him. And even when I got to be over 240 pounds and I stood next to him, he would still look down on me even though he was looking up. and so he was really an inspiration to me. And I think that he showed me that the discipline that you can get through physical activity and taking care of your body really puts you in an advantage when you're interacting with people. And also because you're able to be feeling good about how you present yourself, not only to other people, but when you look in the mirror, the guy in the mirror is the guy that judges you the hardest. And when you can feel good about the guy that looked back at you, then you end up saying to yourself, you know what, maybe there's something to this. And I started bodybuilding. I got my first Flex magazine off the shelf at the grocery store. Back then they had real magazines. So, you walk by the shelf and you're like, oh my God. And I'll never forget, I saw Sean Ray on the cover. He had just won nationals and turned pro. And I was just fascinated by the way his physique looked. It's just amazing balance and symmetry, rock hard abs, and just, huge, but not overly blown out. And I was like, man, that maybe I could someday achieve that. And so I picked up some weights. I talked to my dad, and he said, dude, all you got to do is get off your ass and start lifting some stuff and eating right. And that was the start of it. And, for me, my body responded. And I think when you feel like, I always say that's the $1 million question. Nobody knows how to change their body. It's a big mystery until you realize it's not that complicated. It's pretty simple. It's just about consistency and sticking to the program. And amazing things can happen.
There you go.
You see why I be training with him, man. Sometimes you just got to get that refresher. You know what I'm saying? Like that old monologue, man, that just makes you feel like, yo, everything I'm doing is in place, man. Like it's all following through. Man.
You know what, man? And just to hear you talk about it, man, I was just like, I was just, and that's what I love about some coaches, man. When you see the passion in the sport, and I've dealt with some coaches before, not in a professional sound, but just coaches that they're just there, just collecting the check. They're pushing you through the motion, but just hearing you just talk about your journey and what you went through and what made you do what you're doing is very important, and it just shows the passion. Like how many years would you say now in the game that you've been competing, coaching, and all? Well, I don't know if you want to. I don't know if you want to date yourself.
It's funny. I always my certain people tell me that I shouldn't be growing out this gray here because it indicates my age a little more or less. But truth is,
I think it's cool, man.
I've got more recently some positive feedback, so I think I'll keep it.
I can't grow a beard, so I told him he got to grow it for me.
So I got it for both of us. But no, truth is, I started lifting weights seriously in 1985, 1986. I was about 14, 15 years old. So if we do the math, I actually competed in my first show. I was 19 years old in 1989. And if I hadn't won it, I probably would have just said, something I'm having fun with, but let me find something else. You know, had a lot of other passions at that time. But there was something really crazy about getting on stage as a teenager. I was 19 years old, stand up on stage in your skivvies and you're doing a twist and a turn and a squeeze. And like people in the audience are like not making fun of you. They're clapping and they're screaming and yelling and being like, oh my God, makes you want to do this again and do that again. And you know the feeling.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable because the hard work that you put into changing your physique, you know, months and months. And for me, that was my first show was 2 or 3 years into the sport. And, you know, 12 good weeks of suffering with dieting. You get on stage and it's like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think? And the crowd is responding in such a positive way. I came off stage with, you know, a 6 foot tall trophy at that time. That was a style of trophies. And I got the most muscular trophy. I won my class. I won the overall. And I said, shit, maybe I'm actually kind of good at something physical. Because I got my ass kicked in Pop Warner and it's high school football. So I was never really a jock, but I really enjoyed the challenge of physical activity. And I went to boot camp and it was a similar thing, but I still was never excelling in anything. And then at 19 years old, when I competed, I won. I won the overall. I took the sword home, you know, and I said, shit, this is fun. And so I started learning and studying and reading everything I get my hands on. You know, every time Muscle and Fitness magazine would come out, or Flex magazine, or Ironman magazine, or Muscle Media 2000, or I'd be going through these magazines just reading and studying. And I looked at a lot of the pros and their programs and stuff. And I coached my first guy for competition when I was 19. And that was back, I'll confess, it was in 1987. So I was 19 years old, 1989, 89. So I'm 52 now, and I've been competing for 32 years. It'll be 32 and a half years when I get on stage.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's really kind of cool because one of the goals I have is, if I could break it down for myself, there's not many guys. I mean, Dexter Jackson, a few of the older guys that are some of my contemporaries have done really well. But I won a show in 89, the 80s. I won a couple of shows in the 90s, a couple of shows in the 2000 decade, a couple of shows in the 2000 teens. So if I could get another at least show, but maybe victory under my belt, that'd be 5 decades of success. So it's kind of neat, you know.
I know we all just like everybody's just smiling and like, man,
I'm fanning out right now. I've been working with this man for over a year. year and a half.
Man. So,
but it's exciting because it's reciprocal, you know.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about coaching now is I get guys like Mark that come in off the street, and if I can share that story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
We were working through COVID at an underground place. It was an amazing gym called Grinder Gym in San Diego. It's basically put together on shoestrings and, shoelaces and bubble gum. But, Dave, the owner of the gym, built up a really nice place to train with a lot of heavy stuff, even though it wasn't all fancy. Half of it was outside. But during COVID, we needed some place to train. And I remember I was doing my business there, kind of on the down low, and this guy walks in, and I look at him, and I'm like, dang, he's got a good physique. He's got a little bit of swagger, but that's okay, And the first thing he said was like, hey, I'm Mac. And I said, hey, it's nice to meet you, man. You ready to train? He's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be your next pro. And I looked at him and I said, well, we'll see how that goes, because you got a good physique. But I tell you what, we tore it up, and he hung and did every rep and every set and every drop set and every superset and all the different techniques that we use to blow it up. He's an amazing athlete as it is, with a crazy structure and great muscle response, but just the response to his mindset to approaching the game. And to this day, we've had a tremendous amount of success together. He's had amazing careers thus far. I think interesting stories behind some of the successes and failures, but overall, he's never backed down, not once, not let up a set, and done always extra over and above. Sometimes a coach's responsibility is winding guys back.
Right.
In that case, we push hard, and he's like, I can do more. And you look at him and you're like, well, you could do more in your mind, but your body maybe needs a break. So some of that strategy of us working together is me pacing him out, because he's a racehorse, a thoroughbred. And you push him too hard, he'll push it,
I know he will. I've seen him work out.
But for real. And I think that's what makes a champion. And that makes it very much an honor and a lot of fun to be able to train guys like that, because, they're a diamond in the rough, they're gems, they're just precious people. And it's inspiring to me, because I'm an athlete too, still competing, and I still have goals. So when I train these guys, it's all for them, but I secretly take a little bit home for me.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Get a little bit of that energy, man. It's cold.
So let me ask you this, Mark. What kind of coach is Pete?
Pete is a in the trenches, hands-on type of coach. To your point, there are a lot of people out there that can, train someone from a distance over the phone, or just send them a meal plan, send them a nutrition guide, send them a workout, and they just check in, via telephone or just some other means of communication. But Pete is actually in the trenches, somebody that competes himself, so he understands all the ups and downs of an athlete that goes through that process. So that's what makes it even more fun to be able to train with them and connect, because you get that connection of somebody that understands you. You know what I'm saying? They can sympathize and empathize with you, you know, with everything that you're going through. Like having Pete as my first coach, going through my first real year of suffering, you know, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of mental ups and downs that I was going through that I would just, you know, let out and just have Pete as an outlet. And he just, after a conversation, I'm like, yo, but slap myself, man, I'm back, I'm ready, you know what I'm saying? So like training with Pete, he's in the trenches with you. Like you feel more comfortable with somebody that's in the grind with you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when you know that they have your back, instead of somebody just from a distance, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and just to have someone, you know, who believes in you.
100%.
Just you know, because speaking of, shout out to Grinder Gym, I actually met Pete at Grinder working with Brett Seeley. He introduced me to Pete and said, hey, this is a guy you need to know. And, you know, I reached out to him a couple times, and he sent me a couple of athletes for photo shoots and stuff like that, which is amazing. Pete's a very humble guy, believe it or not. He has a lot of, you know, pros under his belt. He has a lot of accolades. Like when I tell you, when people tell me like Pete is the guy, it is what it is. But you know, just by talking to Pete, you know, he doesn't let any of that cloud what his main goal is, which is creating athletes.
Yeah, and it is dope having it, like someone that wants the success for you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not the success for you so that they can themselves say, hey, I did that. Look at me, you know, I turned helped that person turn pro.
Right.
I helped that person get in shape. Like, look at me, I'm the best coach. You know what I'm saying? It's just like authentic and genuine love and happiness for other success. And then he gets, you know, his pat on the back, his own personal, you know, accomplishment, feeling accomplished, because you know it's just gonna come full circle because he give that type of loyalty and that type of real connection to his athletes, to where, you know, it's just natural for us to be like, yo, Pete, come on the show, Pete. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, if you need a coach, go to Pete. You know what I'm saying? Like it comes full circle.
And so here's a couple questions I got for you, Pete. For someone in getting used to getting into the competition, you know, some of my viewers out there are really new to this. At what point do you need to seek a coach?
That's a great idea. I mean, a great question. And you know that when you want to think about it, it's like there's so much knowledge out there that's misinformation or that's misunderstood information that I see now more so than ever, where we have our on our phone and in our fingertips, we have access to so much information. A lot of it becomes almost misinformation, or like, you know, Donald Trump used to say, well, you know, fake media, fake news, you know.
Right.
It's not so much that the stuff out there is purposefully taking you away from the truth. But I think a lot of times the truth comes experientially as much as from something you read in a book, or, you know, there's a lot of great guys out there that have a lot of experience. I think one of the as far as when is the time to get a coach, I think when you found that you put a good 3, 4, 5, 6 months into your training program and you don't see the results you want, it's time to consult others who've been down that path. Now, that doesn't always mean pay a guy and hire a coach. Sometimes it means join a club, join a team.
Right.
Like, you know, we got a lot of young guys that come to me that are paying me part-time, but are also joining these guys at their higher level, learning from them, training with them. And, you know, the great thing about the team is that, for all of us anyways, you know, we're all supporting each other. Even there's, for example, Dwayne, you know, he was working with another guy for a time, and he was just training with these guys because he's a bud, you know, and so he would pay his half the session or whatever, but it would not be that he's committed 100% financially because he was with another guy, but he's learning. And I think the beautiful thing about bodybuilding is you can never know everything, and there's so much information out there. The hardest part is finding out what really works and what is bullshit, and what is bullshit that's going to try to take money from you. And anytime you see anybody out there that says, I have the secret, I have the tools, I need your money, then it's bullshit. What you do is you listen, you learn, and maybe you try a little bit, but don't ever invest financially if you can't see that the results are going to come for you personally. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense in a direct way, but my thing is I see as a lot of guys, because the fitness industry has exploded and everybody's busy, but everybody that wants to participate is ready to throw money everywhere. Right. And, you know, it really is, like Mark said, it's about the love of the game. And when you get guys that have been seasoned, you know, look at them, look at their track record, do your due diligence, talk to people that have worked with them as far as hiring a coach. And I think, but like to answer your question, once again, is when you find that you're stagnated and you need to grow, find somebody that is where you want to be. And I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah.
So, question for you, Mark: what makes you coachable? Because a lot of people don't understand that it's a two part contract, right? You have your coach, and you have the person being coached,
Right?
And a lot of people think, oh, I'll pay you to coach me, and you're supposed to give me all these wonderful, this look that I want. But it's more to it. You have to be coachable. You have to be understanding. And just like Peach was saying earlier, you're a racehorse, but you also got to know that when he tells you to dial it down, he's not being mean or whatever, but it's something that you need to do. So what makes a person coachable?
So I will give 2 examples. So I was speaking in general, like for anyone, right? And then I'll speak for myself. But for anyone to be coachable, you have to, go at it with a level of humility. You got to coach because that coach can provide you with a service or with some knowledge that you yourself can't provide for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be humble enough to allow that person to lead you and to guide you down the path that, they'll have structure for you. But it's also about being comfortable as well, because you want to be comfortable in the fact of knowing that the person that you have as your coach is providing you that service that you're searching for. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to have your coach make you feel comfortable that, oh, this is the right amount of food. And you don't want to have to question everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, should I be eating this much, or should I be eating more or less, or do I really need to be doing all this cardio, or you know what I'm saying? Like you want to feel comfortable in the plan that's set. Me, I'm coachable because I try to find humility in everything. Like there can never be enough that I learn. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be the best, and to be the best, you have to undergo a process of being humility, or being humble. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to learn as much as possible until I'm, entitled the greatest at what I do right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's a fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm coachable because I'm hungry for it. You know what I'm saying? I've been working with Pete for over a year and a half, and that does nothing but build our bond and build our relationship and the trust that we have within one another, to where when Pete says, okay, it's time to up the cardio, or we're going to change your food like this, or today this week we're going to switch your split, your exercise split like this, like I'm comfortable in, okay, Pete, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go at it at 110% and go as hard as I possibly can. Because at the same time, like to Pete's point, I work with a team of like-minded individuals, and we all think the same of, we all want to be the best, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we are all in the same competition. You know what I'm saying? At some point we have to see each other on the stage, and somebody has to go and get that prize. Like somebody's got to get first. You get what I'm saying? But even though we all support one another, it's still I don't want anyone to beat me, because I want to be the best. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it.
So it's just being coachable. It's just being humble and still going at it with a lot of hunger.
Well, and I'll add to that too. Jump in, but it's really interesting because I have a coach too, and I'm very thankful for the guy that I follow, Milo Sarcev, brilliant guy. I've learned so much from him over the years. I was able to follow him as a fan and read all his articles and his publications early in my bodybuilding career. I learned a lot from him and his philosophies, and then more recently I was able to hire him finally, and he's got me into some crazy shape and put some good muscle on this old carriage. So I'm very thankful for that. But even coaches need coaches too, and I worked actually with Samir Banu, who was 1983 Mr. Olympia. He was my posing coach for some time, and one of the coolest things was I was so enamored and fascinated by the opportunity to pose with one of the greatest posers of all time, and I paid him some money, and then he gave me back the money, and he said, you know what, Pete? He said, I want to give you something more valuable than the money. I'm going to spend some time with you, but remember this. He said that, because I said, man, I can't believe you've been doing this at that time, he was 40 years in the game. 40 years, and I was like, amazing. You must know everything there is to know about bodybuilding. He says, Pete, I'll tell you this. He says, the day that you stop learning is the day that you stop growing. And exactly like Mark said, the ability to be coachable is to be humble enough to recognize that. And that's where, as I'm posing with Mr. Olympia, Samir Banu, and he says to me, I'm always learning, and I'm learning from these guys. He's learning from me. He says, the way that you pose and the way that you're turning your body and stuff, I look at it, I observe and process. This was Samir. And he said, I'm humble enough to recognize I don't know everything. And it's the same, I think, for me too. I don't know everything by any means. I've just been doing a lot for a long time. So a lot of things, basically for me, the way I approach my game with my boys is the more I've learned from the mistakes that I've made. Sometimes it took me 2 or 3 times or 4 times making them.
Right.
The more time I can save them from not making the same damn mistakes. So it's not that I don't know, because I don't know everything in the books, but what I do know is a lot of what not to do by fucking it up all the way through.
Yeah.
So when I learn from those mistakes, then I can share that knowledge. And I think that's priceless, because if he were to follow my journey, then he'd be in his 50s before he's winning shows, like maybe 40s because he got a better physique. But at the same time, my job is really to save him that time and to bring him further along the journey together than would be otherwise possible. And that's where, as an athlete, to be humble enough to learn from someone else. And we all have that, because like I said, I'm humble enough to know I don't know everything. When I train these guys every session, I'm learning stuff, because a lot of times in presenting the knowledge to people, you watch the way they tweak their form, the way they move their wrist in the side lateral raise. Like we were doing side laterals today.
Yeah, we was killing it today, man. Let me tell you about a Pete session. I know, and I'm a toot my own horn, man, just because I honestly don't know all the sessions Pete, orchestrates or whatever. But I'll say my group, man, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, we go the hardest, bro. I'm telling you, bro, we go crazy, bro. Like it's a level of unspoken competition. You know what I'm saying? Like every time somebody get up, like, man, how many you hit? Say no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I know I probably can't get that, but I'm finna get there though. You know what I'm saying? One way or another. Like we push one another so hard in the gym and hold each other accountable too, man. Because it's about making sure that the team wins. You know what I'm saying? Because if one person starts to slack off and that energy doesn't match the team, then that could trickle over to the next person, which could trickle over to the next person and have a domino effect and just have all of us kind of like a down slope. Like, no, bro. Like once we start, it's going crazy. You know what I'm saying?
One thing I need to ask you when it comes to the coaching, especially the new era, right? Pete, you said you've been in the game in the 80s.
Yep.
Obviously, muscle groups don't change. The body's still the same no matter where you are.
We're still humans.
But the thing at the end of the day is so much has changed. I mean, we have, like you said, social media. We have online coaching now. We have, just like everything's you can just pick up a phone and find something. What, if anything, has changed to benefit bodybuilding when it comes to coaching, aside from the reach? I mean, obviously social media is good because you can reach, but like you were saying before, when it comes to the misinformation, because, there's always these new diets and stuff that's coming out and stuff, but because your body doesn't change with the change of society and how we're going, has anything helped bodybuilding, or do you feel like it's something that's kind of hurt?
It's a tough one. I'll go ahead.
I got a thought on that.
That's a two-edged question.
When it comes to social media provides people with quick and instant information.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to a diet or bodybuilding, then people want quick and instant results.
Right.
Like nobody really recognizes the time that really went into someone achieving this amount of weight gain or this amount of weight loss. You know what I'm saying? They just see the before and the after, but they didn't recognize or see the timestamps that, hey, this took 6-7 months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever sees the slow progress or the slow process that it took to make that huge change. They just see where you were and then look up and be like, oh, snaps, they did that. And it seems to them almost instant.
Right.
So now I want an instant diet, or I want an instant workout plan that'll instantly help me get into shape. So social media makes people feel that it can happen like
and I think that's a really interesting point too, because it's true. You only see a snapshot.
Right.
And I think a lot of more aggressive marketing guys, especially the younger coaches, that maybe got into great shape by working with an older coach or a more experienced coach, doing the work, get some great pictures done, hire a great photographer, great photos, and post them all over their social media. So that's a snapshot that the potential customer sees. It's this amazing guy who's in amazing shape as a result of him working with guys that know more or have more experience, and a great photographer who's put the pieces together to make it look great on social media. So now that becomes their advertising platform, their marketing platform, which unfortunately to the consumer, like you're saying, the younger guy getting into bodybuilding or girl and looking at, man, I want to look like that. And this guy tells me he's got the secret, but he's got a great social media presence. So he obviously knows what he's doing because now so much of the points from a consumer perspective are scored by how many followers you have and how many likes you have. And this is the disservice that I think social media does to the customer base, the guys interested in really getting down and dirty, because what happens is it waters down the quality of the product that's put forth, because you can't really tell. Like I'm trying to do my social media thing and my Instagram, and I haven't had more followers grow in the past year and a half because I don't put enough energy into it because I'm busy training these guys. I'm busy learning stuff. And but on the other hand, it's really interesting when Instagram first came out and I was pounding it with my old training partners. And I mean, this was 10, 15 years ago. We were just crazy training like you guys. And I still do, because I get inspired by these motherfuckers. But the truth is, I was like, put that phone away. We carry our fucking phones when we're training. We're training. We're focusing on this little world here. But as I've evolved and I see what else is out there, I said I recognize the value of social media being able to take the reality on some levels and present it to the consumers. Because like Mark said, most consumers on the quick, looking at the snapshot on social media, really don't see what's behind all of that final product.
Right. Like,
and I know you as an amazing photographer, media guy, you see the final product at the photo shoot, oiled up and polished up and ready to go, maybe the day after the shoot, or even in the process.
Right.
You create magic with the athlete, and that magic is created months past in the gym that leads up to either the competition stage or the photo shoots for social media. So you see the magic at that instant, but the young consumers that really don't recognize all of the time and the miles and the effort and the knowledge that's gone into creating that one moment in time. It's that's where the message can be lost in translation, and the disservice that social media provides.
Nobody's showing off the hour cardio. Nobody
wants to see it.
Just showing off the abs. That's it.
No, I mean, there's a lot into it, because I mean, you guys get up and have to do early mornings, or with your work schedule, having to commit to at night, and there's just a lot to it that a lot of people don't see, because there is a lot of instant gratification. But man, I still remember those days. You brought it back to me, like just going to the grocery store and just grabbing like all these magazines and just seeing, like, I remember like just seeing they would post like, this athlete's workout, and you go in there and try to do the athlete's workout, just like, he's an Olympian, I got to do his workout, and unfortunately, they still have got some magazines out, but everything's kind of digital now, and it just doesn't. It's not the same as those magazines, man. Well,
and the crazy thing too is, I remember I would have a subscription to each of them, and every year for Christmas, my parents would, we didn't have a ton of money growing up, so they would renew my magazine subscriptions. I always had Flex, I always had Iron Man, I always had Muscle and Fitness. So it was like, $12 each for Christmas. Those are my big gifts. I get the first one in my stocking rolled up and stuffed in there. So all Christmas morning, I'm just reading through these muscle magazines, and but it's unfortunate for people that haven't had the time to learn how hard it really is. And that's what, I've had many athletes that I would coach first time through, second time through, new guys coming in that have great physiques, start training with me and doing the diet and realizing, shit, I can't do this. Coach Pete's programs are too hard. Coach Pete's, so they quit. Now, 4 or 5 years later, they got themselves a coach that maybe, took their money and didn't give them the results they wanted because they didn't have a real desire for it. And they'll end up coming back, maybe with me or with another coach, but end up eventually looking good on that stage 5, 6 years later and be like, damn, coach, I remember that first program you gave me. I didn't follow. It was too hard. But now they're good coaches because they've learned the process. And that's where that's initial gratification. It says, well, it can't be this hard because other guys are doing it out there.
Yeah.
But
that's how I look at it, man. Like, I'm not the first one doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's exhausting. I know it's hard, but I'm not the first one doing it, and other people have already done it. So why can't I? Right. You know what I'm saying? So that type of mentality is what helps push me forward.
And it's awesome, though. It's so exciting. I tell you what, because when a lot of people build their initial exposure on the social media front, and then they come to me or they come and they train with Mark, then they end up saying, holy shit, this is hard. But you get a few of those athletes out there that get me fired up because they're like, is it really this hard? What do I have to expect? And the ones that are good, there's a couple we spoke about actually that we just recently have come join the team, get ready for their first show. And they're just crazy because they're like, holy shit, this is so hard.
Yeah.
This is the hardest sport.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to really live through it.
Yeah.
And we always say MMA is tough, you know, taekwondo, you know, everything that has to do with physical activity can be challenging at the top level, but then try and do it without any food. Then it's really
That is,
and that's what the worst part of it is. Like, you know, you're an athlete, you play ball, you've done all your stuff in athletics, and I play football, and, you know, I'm not sure your athletic background, no, but I know you're also into the games, you know, into the sport. And it's all fine and good, right? I mean, pro level football, NBA, you know, basketball, baseball. These guys are great athletes. They work their asses off, track and field, Olympians.
Right.
But now cut their carbs down, cut their carbs in half, or have them, you know, have to do 2 hours of cardio on top of their game.
yeah.
They're like, fuck, man, this is impossible.
No, I'm telling you, like,
It is. That's bodybuilding.
To do it while you starving. Like, that is
That's it.
the hardest thing, because that's first thing that's going to do is break your mental. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
exactly, because
it's just
your
a
brain
natural-
runs on carbs.
Right. It's just a natural, but it's a natural, like, survival type of trait. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'm starving, I have to go eat. But when you have to, you know, keep yourself under control, like self-control, not to eat these cravings or just eat food in general, and still stick with the plan and go in the gym and lift crazy and still go do all this cardio, that is tough, bro. Like, people really don't understand.
No, I couldn't
That is
imagine
tough,
doing that.
bro.
When I played semi-pro here, man, we would go, and this is a funny thing. Like, the night before, we would go out on carb load.
Yeah.
We just
makes
go out,
sense,
all
right?
kinds of shit, you know. And-
Yeah. Because you can feel good when you're playing.
right. Yeah, you just no, I couldn't.
So then you try to play and be optimally performing, not just in the games, but in the training sessions leading up to the games, and feeling like shit because you got no food in you.
No.
That's the challenge, and that's really hard. That's the hardest part, in my opinion. Is it's not so much being hungry, because you can be hungry, you know,
Right.
but it's being hungry and having to perform when you don't have fuel.
Yeah.
And that's where it really is the gut check, especially towards the last 4 or 5 weeks before a contest. You know, the closer you get to the show, the better you look, the shittier you feel.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a badge of honor, though, too.
Hey, man.
So and that's what, you know what, that's what I was going to ask you right now. So and this is the question that some people who are not in the world, why do that? Why put yourself? Why do that? Why put yourself through that?
I think all of us kind of that are in the bodybuilding industry kind of got something relating to Pete's origin story of, you know, how he felt small and unseen in high school.
Right.
But then once he started to get the recognition, like by doing the sport, it kind of helped fuel him.
Right.
I had the similar background. I grew up really small. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like invisible, but I wasn't the most popular or the most seen or the most, you know, person that everybody wanted to just hang out with. You know what I'm saying? I just was a small individual, short, frail, and so I just wanted to just be bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I felt like height at the time was going to be a challenge, so at least I could put on some muscle. Play football and didn't get any clock. Like, no whole season. You probably see my butt print on the bench. You know what I'm saying? The whole season, bro. And so I figured, you know, if I'm not going to be tall, I can at least put on some muscle, because, you know, football players have to be strong. Once I started lifting those weights and I also hit puberty, got a little taller, my muscles started to fill out, I started to get a little more attention. It was like, oh, I'm going to lift some more weights.
Right.
Lift some more. And next thing you know, it just naturally just became a thing of, I like the way that these weights are really making my body look, and I'm really falling in love with it.
Well, and I think it's crazy too. You know, when it comes to a motivation standpoint, you know, they always say that it's either the pursuit of pleasure or the avoidance of pain, the two major causes of motivation.
Right.
And I think bodybuilding is really, like Mark said, there's a lot of pain that comes out of life, living. And one of the things that can help kind of squelch that pain, especially the pain that comes from inside, you know, is feeling better about yourself and doing something, taking action to feel empowered.
Right.
And I always like to think that if you can change your body, you can do anything, because it's so hard for most people to change their body. It's impossible. Everybody struggles, lose weight, build muscle, do this, do that, along the lines of changing the appearance of their body. So pursuit of pleasure and the absence of pain, they're both very similar and they're related. But through bodybuilding, you can achieve both simultaneously in many cases, because after we pound it in the gym for 50 minutes to an hour and these guys can't lift their arms up in a shoulder workout, we all sit around and kind of smile, because it's just, that's pleasure.
Dude, after a workout, like just holding your gym bag is like, I'm telling you, man, it like just holding your gym bag and walking, or holding my gallon jug of water and walking, man, it just starts to feel like everything is ripping apart, bro. It's crazy.
But that's great, because it's pleasurable too, because you
Yeah.
know it's good for you. And I think as you think about, like Mark had said, and for same for me, the avoidance of some of the pain of growing up and being isolated or being invisible or being small and not recognized, you're avoiding that pain by busting ass, because you know your body's going to change. And when your body changes, you get that momentary little satisfaction and pleasure, knowing that you have some control over the crazy world.
So obviously the premise of this is Road to Olympia. So what does it take? You have a guy who comes in, and you training him, and he has his eyes on the Olympia stage, which for us, like we said before, is kind of the Super Bowl, right? Okay. As a coach, what does anything change as far as your coaching for that, or does?
It's really interesting. You know, it's funny. I've had people say that I have favorites that I put more attention into in my team. Yeah. And what I tell the people that argue with me, because other top level coaches that are successful in my neck of the woods, you know, we sit down, we go to dinner sometimes, we talk just about our athletes and about stuff. And I've been criticized by more than a couple of my peers that say, you know, you play favorites with your clients. I say the truth is I don't. As much as the client's putting energy into their journey through this bodybuilding path, I return that energy like a mirror. So if these people don't text me when they're supposed to text me their weights, they don't check in, I'll do my best to chase them down. But I got guys that are giving their all to me every minute of the interactions we have, and I'm not going to shortchange them. So when you ask me, you know, how does my approach change? It really is dependent on the athlete. I mirror the athlete's desire and goals by giving them back as much energy and expertise as I have. One of the things that I found about Mac, and is part of the reason that when I heard the title of this podcast, I was like, it's a pretty bold statement to say I'm going to the Olympia. There's nothing humble about that. But, you know, like when the first day I met him, he walked in and he said, I'm going to be your next pro. Because the problem is, it's not only that he's has faith in himself, but on some level, he's throwing faith and responsibility onto my shoulders. Yes. I'm like, fuck, dude, I don't know if I can turn you pro. Not that you don't have the capabilities, but that's a big responsibility. Right. So when he goes out in social media, before we had this communication, when you guys started this project, and I'm like, you sure you want to be saying that, man? Because that's a lot of pressure on me to be able to provide you with the expertise to get you there. But I've learned when you're approaching that level and you have a guy that's as confident and humble at the same time as Mark, to be coachable as he is. We've done tremendous things and had tremendous success last year in his rookie season, right? To the point where I have no doubt he's going to get to that stage. No doubt. Right. Because there's only so much a coach can do. The rest has to come from inside the potential Olympian's heart, and he's got it. So it's just a matter of then making sure that my P's and Q's are, you know, on point too, because if I can provide him with the knowledge, I know I can because we've done it already, right? He's going to be there. He's going to be successful. Yeah. It won't take long.
Absolutely. My thing is, Pete, the title of it is Road to the Olympia, and it's not necessarily to say we're going to get that 2022. This can go on as long as it takes, but at some point, I do believe that we will be on the Olympia stage. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the faith that I have in myself, and I have as a trust in my coach, like I said before, just to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like saying that out loud and making an actual statement of it puts that type of pressure and responsibility on myself to make sure that I am 100% committed to the plan to get there.
And I think to add on to that, when we first started talking about the road is rocky, right? The road is rough. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, we don't put a timestamp on when it's going to happen, and we've even talked in earlier podcasts about it maybe not happening because Mark said he is a sore loser.
Super sore, bro.
Super sore. That was the word, super sore. He was a super sore loser. But the road itself is the journey, and that's what makes it. And yeah, if you make it to Olympia, if we get to the Olympia stage and stuff, it's amazing. But I think the path there is what's more important. Going to the shows, getting your pro card, not getting your pro card when you first went to your competition and you bombed it, going to the USAs and actually, you know, reaching the top there, right. and then now here we are to date. You know, we're putting our eyes on that stage, and obviously there's some roadblocks and stuff that you're going to have to get over as a professional to make it to that stage, and I think that's important because it is a bold statement to say you're going to go there, but the journey itself is, I think, more important.
Absolutely.
I think it's more important. So, man, I know we can talk forever about this, and we might have to bring Pete back. But, Pete, how can they find you here in the San Diego? Are you online coaching right now?
I'm doing a little bit of online coaching. I'll be honest, you know, the guys in the gym take up much of my time and energy, right. But I do have an online basis. It just hit me up on Instagram, Pete619 Muscle.
Pete 619.
619 muscle. Yeah, and I'll get back to everybody, and even though my DMs roll through like a cash register a lot, just keep hitting me up, and I really don't mind being pestered because I love sharing this stuff, and I've been blessed to be able to be really busy, and I've been thankful, and I get to work with these type of amazing athletes like Mark. So it's amazing to be able to just share that experience with other people who maybe want to be in his shoes one day, and so I'm thankful. Yeah, Pete 619 muscle, hit me up, and we'll see what we can do. I've always got room for more people.
Of course.
And you know who this guy is next to you.
For sure, man. You can find me on social media or on the news, man. Instagram is Mac Muscle Fit across all platforms.
And before I say who I am, you guys already know it's on my channel shit. You guys are TG, both working out at TG Subs right now.
Yeah.
Which is it's a newer. How old is TG Subs right now? Supplement.
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah,
almost
maybe.
a year.
Like June, July.
Yeah, almost like 9 months or so.
Funny story behind that is funny because I've been in the supplement game for a long time. Also, I did marketing. I did some armchair formulations and some stuff, primarily because I was always a supplement goof and a junkie. As a bodybuilder in the beginning, I always figured, anything that's out there that's safe that I can do to manipulate the ultimately positive outcome of my diet from a nutritional standpoint, I want to learn about. So I have my books a lot, my nose in the books a lot with supplements. And as the TG gym chain opened up, it created a market-based platform for the need for good supplements. And George Jackson, who's one of the partners in the TG line, had approached me years ago to work on a formulation line for TG. Before it was TG, it was just World Gym.
Right.
World Gym San Diego, World Gym Vista. And then as it expanded through the blessings actually that were allotted to those guys due to COVID, really, and some of the other businesses shutting down and stuff. It's been exciting to watch the growth of the TG business. And we ended up sitting down with a couple of other partners and formulating the TG products that currently exist. And they're out there pushed mostly through the competitive community and the athletes in the gyms. So, and Mark and I are in on the front end of that pretty early.
Yeah.
Me as a formulator, Mark is really the first athlete they signed, I think.
Really?
Pretty close to it. If not that, first pro anyway.
Yeah. I think so. See, my thing is like, I work with them, man, because it's like supplements made by athletes for athletes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's people that actually understand what it is that you need when it comes to training in the gym. What do you need out of pre-workouts or out of BCAAs or protein or whatever, fat burners. But that makes me more comfortable versus just going to a Walmart to get just something off the shelf that's like super cracked out with a bunch of caffeine in it, 350 milligrams or whatever. Like the TG Sub stuff is super low caffeine levels, but all the other ingredients like help you dial in your focus so much so, man, like you just know you finna have a great pump and a great exercise. So shout out to TG Subs, man. Shout out to you guys for signing your boy. We under renegotiations right now, man. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to do all that I can to continue to put them on the map just because they showed me love as I started, and I just want to return that love to them even though they're just starting.
Yeah, I see the brand growing, and I know you guys are putting a lot into it too. So yeah, man, check your boy out. I don't know, you might have to go to his page and see if he has any discount codes or any of that good stuff.
Yeah. Hit the link in my bio.
Yeah, hit the link. That's social media. Hit the link in the bio. You can get if you want to try what Mark is doing right now with his supplements, and I could say that it's definitely good stuff, man. I see a lot of people using it, and I actually even tapped into it. So yeah, make sure you guys check him out. Check out my guy Pete, man. He is an awesome guy, man. Just the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge he has with him, and just to see the people that he's training with currently, and he's just a good guy. So check him out. Check out his page. He has a YouTube as well.
619 Muscle TV.
Yep, 619 Muscle TV. Check him out on YouTube. You can see some of his workouts. I'm lucky enough to maybe even be able to get on a video to show him doing this stuff. So stay tuned for that. Check out my boy Mark. And then me, as usual, you can check me out at NNC_visuals on Instagram, doing the YouTube as you see right now. And then you can see me pop locking it and dropping it on TikTok. Not really, but I'm trying. You guys take care. We'll see you on the next one.